Joining us now to discuss, Republican Congressman Andy Barr of Kentucky. He's on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. A U.S. official says the Biden administration is considering sending critical air defense systems to NATO allies in Eastern Europe because of growing fears that Russia could launch missiles into the countries that make up NATO's eastern flank. Do you think that's a serious possibility, and what would that mean? Would that be Putin declaring war on the West?
Well, I think it needs to happen because what we saw with Ukraine was that there was inadequate deterrence. And if you think that Putin, given those horrific images that you just saw of Russians targeting civilians and the brutality that is on full display for the whole world to see right now, the censorship that's happening inside of Russia, the crackdown on Russian citizens protesting, all of this and the indiscriminate shelling of civilian areas, this tells you that we need much more deterrence. We do have Article 5 obligations under NATO. An attack on one is an attack on all. I've been in communication with officials in Lithuania and the Baltic, certainly Poland, Slovakia, Bulgaria, Romania. The eastern edge of NATO is asking for greater deterrence. And so, in addition to seriously pushing for, as I am, more critical air assets to be transferred to the Ukrainian resistance and then backfilling that to our NATO allies, we need a more powerful deterrence on the eastern edge of NATO as we help our friends in the Ukraine. And President Zelensky asked for this of the Congress on Saturday.
President Zelensky continues to also urge the United States and NATO to implement a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Two of your Republican colleagues, Congressman Adam Kinzinger and Senator Roger Wicker, support that. Would you?
I think that there's an intermediate way that doesn't put NATO forces in immediate conflict with Russia. We need to see how this develops, but certainly the Ukrainian people need and deserve more support, and the way we help them defend their airspace and defend these humanitarian corridors are more drones, more anti-aircraft, more Stinger missiles, and yes, some of those Soviet-era planes that the Ukrainian Air Force knows how to fly. We know that the Ukrainians know how to resist, and they're proving that they can resist, but they need the weapon systems to continue the fight. And that's what I think we can do in the immediate future. And then, as I said before, we need more U.S. and NATO exercises and more deterrence in those NATO countries, just on the eastern edge of Europe and just to the west of Ukraine.
You're proposing legislation that would close a loophole in the current sanctions against Russia. It would ban Russia's banks from doing energy business. Right now they have that loophole. Why not call for a complete ban on all Russian oil imports, as others are as well?
Well, I am open to that, and I support that. And the reason why I support that is the American people do not want to be financing this illegal, barbaric war in the Ukraine. And that's the bottom line. And so whether that requires a full embargo or my legislation, which removes the exemption, the loophole on the sanctions on energy-related transactions, this would have a similar effect. The difference between what I'm proposing and a full embargo is that while it would stop imports of Russian oil and gas and petroleum products into the United States, which, by the way, Jake, has dramatically increased over the last year as the United States has decreased our own domestic energy production, and it's to the tune of about $64 million a day of U.S. hard currency flowing into Russia and enabling Putin to finance this war. What my bill would do would create an escape valve, an alternative, not just a stick, but a carrot for Putin and Russia, an off-ramp, so that if there are any transactions that are allowed to go through a waiver by the Secretary of Treasury, that money could be held in escrow, and as an incentive for Putin to withdraw from Ukraine would flow to humanitarian and only humanitarian purposes. So it's a carrot and stick approach. It would sanction all of those energy-related transactions, but it would also give Vladimir Putin a diplomatic off-ramp.
Republican Congressman Andy Barr of Kentucky, member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, thank you so much for your time, sir. Appreciate it.